Howdy all, and welcome back to the Sanctified Podcast. Today, I want to dive into one of the largest saints, according to legend at least, and that is Saint Christopher. So, there's not a whole lot known about Saint Christopher's early life, and to be honest, there's not a lot known about his life in general. What we do know are legends that were passed down through oral tradition until somebody finally wrote them down around the 7th century, which was 3 centuries after he lived. Christopher was said to be a giant amongst men. He's also supposedly the son of a king and a result of the Queen's prayers to the Virgin Mary. He was born and given the name Reprobus, and as he grew, he wanted to serve the strongest person that he could find. This led him to serve a king that many thought to be invincible, but while serving this king, he noticed that the king made the sign of the cross at the mention of the devil, so he reached the conclusion that the devil must be stronger than the king since the king fears the devil. Reprobus then decided to set out in search to serve the devil. He ultimately found a way to serve the devil, and then while in service, he noticed that the devil cowered in fear at the cross. And he thought to himself, obviously the strongest being wouldn't fear anything. So Reprobus abandoned his servitude to the devil. As he searched for a new power to serve, he stumbled upon a hermit named Babylas. Now, Babylas taught the man about the ways of the Lord and the lifestyle of those who served him, and that lifestyle puzzled Reprobus. He knew the strongest individuals to exercise their strength over others and to rule them, but he found that this wasn't the way of those who followed the Lord. Instead, servitude, kindness, and understanding were the cornerstones to their lifestyles. Reprobus searched for ways that he could serve the Lord, but it was difficult because of his appearance and his history. Everyone he came across feared him or said that he couldn't succeed in service to the Lord. Eventually, though, he found success in lending service to others through the advice of Babylas. Since he was a giant, whether he was literally a giant or just figuratively like he was just a large man, he helped people cross a large and powerful river by carrying them across safely. And then one day he had a child approach him that asked to be carried across. Now, he gladly accepted. After all, a child is light and they're pretty easy to carry. As he crossed the river, though, the child became heavier and heavier. Reprobus thought that he might actually fail in this fairly simple task, and a task that he's completed countless times before. He told the child that he might fail in crossing the river, but the child encouraged him onward. After crossing the river, Reprobus asked the child how someone so small could be so heavy, and the child responded with, "You had a child on your shoulders, and I had the world on mine." Now, this probably sounded pretty confusing to Reprobus at the time, but then the child revealed himself to be Christ. And then, right then and there, he told Reprobus that his name would be Christopher, which meant Christ-bearer, and that he should seek the priests to baptize him now. He also told Christopher to plant his staff into the ground, and Christopher obediently listened. I mean, wouldn't you? In the morning, the staff became a fruitful tree, and those who witnessed this miracle became followers of the Lord themselves. Now, as time went on, the king of the region grew more and more furious that his subjects now started serving a new ruler. Now that his subjects were following Christopher and listening to the Lord, not the king. He ordered the capture of Christopher to hold him in prison. And there were supposedly 200 soldiers sent to capture him because Christopher was such a formidable person. His reputation was so strong that they figured he'd be able to put up quite a fight. But kind of to their surprise, he followed them peacefully. Along their journey, he is said to have had a dead branch blossom in his hand and also to have multiplied bread loaves through prayer. Witnessing these miracles, the soldiers that were sent to capture him converted, started following the Lord themselves, and they abandoned their mission. However, the king didn't give up. If anything, this just made him more angry, and so he sent a new set of soldiers to capture St. Christopher. And this time he did capture St. Christopher. And while Christopher was in prison, he was tortured and ultimately beheaded. Now we can get into some of the other legends that surrounded St. Christopher that aren't really connected to his journey to find faith. directly at least. So to start off with, there's still people who question St. Christopher's existence. They think that he may have actually been the Egyptian saint, St. Minas, as he was also considered a Christ bearer, and they are both patrons of travelers. However, there are numerous examples of the acceptance of St. Christopher as his own person throughout history, and this could lend enough evidence to say that he was real and he was his own person. The Jesuit Nicholas Serrarius created the treatise on litanies, also known as the Tanuntiji. This document mentions St. Christopher. There are churches that bear the image of St. Christopher that date back to the early 6th century. St. Gregory the Great mentions a monastery of St. Christopher in the 7th century, and a monastery on Mount Sinai holds the image of St. Christopher. And this monastery on Mount Sinai was constructed between 527 and 565, so pretty close to Christopher's life. There's also coins representing St. Christopher that were made in Würzburg, Württemberg, and Bohemia around this time. Another interesting note, and this one kind of gets into the conspiracy theory side of things, is that early depictions of Christopher, ones from before his conversion to faith in the Lord, depict him with the head of a dog. There's also accounts that he was related to man-beast hybrids. One of these was the Nephilim, which were reported to be large, beast-like, and incredibly powerful. And those all do describe St. Christopher pretty well. And the other sort of conspiracy theory about what or who Christopher was is the cynocephali, which translates to dog heads. They were from Thessaly. Now, there's obviously no way to know for sure if there's any truth to him being either a Nephilim or cynocephali or somehow connected to that. But I just thought it was worth including because if you do your own research, you'll stumble across that. And I thought it was interesting, so I wanted to share it. Now, the key point to this story, whether you believe in Christopher or if you think he was St. Manus, or if you believe he was human or a cynocephali or whatever you think about St. Christopher, the important part is the message about faith that is being presented here. People can make mistakes in their lives and be saved. People who are considered monsters by those around them can be redeemed. It isn't always about being right and shutting out those that differ with you, but being open to others and being open to being the one who's wrong in the end. Like, people make mistakes and just move past it. Try to be better. And I don't say that in just a religious sense. Like, we can do that in our everyday lives. Learn to forgive those around us. If somebody wrongs us in a big way or in a small way, if you get cut off in traffic, like, you might be frustrated. It's not a big deal. Like, that person, maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe they made a mistake. Who knows? You can just forgive them. Like, it honestly feels a lot better to just be like, you know what? It's okay, than it does to hang on to that grudge. And we can use that in so many different aspects of our everyday lives, both religious and non-religious ways. Christopher is the patron saint of travelers, which I kind of touched on earlier. He's also the patron saint of children. His feast day is July 25th. And another last little interesting fact is that he's considered a saint despite never having been beatified or canonized by the church. And because of this, his feast day isn't listed on the liturgical calendar anymore. I mean, it's still July 25th, but in 1969, Pope Paul VI removed it from the liturgical calendar. And then just a quick thank you to Matt for suggesting I look into St. Christopher, and I hope you all enjoyed. If you have any comments to share, please do so. I always encourage discussion. I love hearing opinions about this stuff. And I hope you enjoyed listening and had a wonderful time. And of course, if you like the channel, subscribe, comment, like the episode. It's a great way to support me, to keep me encouraged to keep going. I mean, I don't plan on stopping. I really enjoy doing this, and I hope you enjoy listening. And I hope you have a wonderful day.